I think China benefits so much because we joined WTO. It was a risky move for China.
But it's not just China who benefited. I mean, no. I was looking at the things. I mean, the rest of the world benefited. What was your thought going from Beijing into a foreign company?
I came back from Canada, right? That's how I joined Siemens. When I came back in 87, I think I was the first MBA student came back to China. When I came back and the teacher, the last advice the professor was giving to us, hey, you know, after MBA, it's probably the best idea to start with the bigger company. So you will be able to utilize, apply all the theories that you learned from school in your practice. And later you can do whatever you want, but to start with the bigger companies always a beneficiary. So I came back, I sent in my resumes around to most of the multinational companies. Eventually Siemens took me, and they have a business administration department. And I was doing MBA, so they probably thought I was an ideal fit, so that's how I ended up with them.
But then 20 years later, when you left Siemens, what were you doing then?
I left Siemens because I was heading the telecommunication group of Siemens. After about, 2005, I went to head the telecommunication group, and then Siemens Telecom group was merged with Nokia. Then I moved on to ABB, so that's kind of my last stop. As a Swiss and Swedish company.
And your title at the end was?
I was a senior vice president of ABB Group and president of China.
So you made it to the top.
Well, yeah, for that group, yeah. But I've been managing.
But you're one of the few on the Chinese side, who really started at the bottom and worked all the way up to the top within a corporate environment.
Sure.
What was your overall impression? Was it easy, or was it just something you put it down to luck, skill, environments? What was the secret of your success?
Well, I wouldn't say secret. I think a lot of luck and a lot of hard work, looking a little bit longer term and working with people. I think it's very important when the environment in China has changed so much in the last 30, 40 years. And the requirement challenge for the multinational company also has changed quite a lot. I think as a leader, you need to adapt to the change, anticipate change, adapt to the change, and trying to help the company to follow the trend. And then pick the right people and really working with headquarters and with customer at the same time.
But, we talked about, because you said that there's a real difference between the old Chinese style of management, which is do as I tell you to do, because I know you don't know what's going on. And I'm just, don't do anything without telling me, and do exactly as I tell you.
Correct.
And you experienced in a growth, a change. A lot of Western ideas that you empower people, that you will get more out of them if you train them, if you trust them, if you say, here's our goal, does everyone understand it? Now, you guys be creative, you guys figure it out. Is that a change that's coming to China? Is it going to be a hybrid model? What will the Chinese side bring to this?
I think it will change. It's evolving. As you know, I'm also coaching this 18 Chinese CEOs and chairmen, so you can see the differences of leadership. And clearly the trend is moving to this delegation and helping your subordinate to succeed, and then you will be successful, right? But I think traditionally the Chinese leadership has been the one-man show, right? It has been the emperor, it has been the head of the group.
The Laoban.
The Laoban, exactly. I think when the market is evolving in the crisis, when everything goes so fast, one leader can make that decision, can put people together, gain the speed. But you really need a very good leader, the benevolent ruler in our old society. But now for the companies, really have a smart leader who understand it, who really absorb all the changes. But with the technology changing so fast, when the company becoming so big, it's almost impossible for one person, doesn't matter how smart that person is, to really know what's going on. So the only way for the bigger company to be successful in China and also abroad, because nowadays all the companies operate in China and abroad, you need to encourage people. You need to make sure the second tier, the third tier leadership take the responsibility and make the right decision on the spot, because that's where they understand it. But then you need to install a structure in place to understand how big the risk is taking, where they made mistakes, how do we correct that mistake, and the mistake will not bankrupt the whole company. So therefore, you need a structure on top of that. So not only you delegate people, giving the right to the people, at the same time you have a structure, understand, because all the mistake, it will be made, that they accumulate together without bankrupting the company. So the structure also needs to come into
very important. Not bankrupting the company. That's a very important part.
It's the
so it's easy.
Important.
When are you going to write the book on management?
I'm not going to write book.
Well, I think you should. I think you should put a couple of articles together.
Yeah.
You know, so much of what you've experienced, especially from that '79 period, has been in the formative things. I mean, I want to switch a little bit. During that period of time, I remember, I'm sure every year you'd read the magazines would come out, this is the year that China fails.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Absolutely.
China hasn't failed.
Yeah.
Actually, it's succeeded. It continues to even grow outside. It's not growing as fast as it did before, but there's always a regression to the mean. The bigger you get, the smaller your growth has to be. Otherwise, the world would disappear.
Absolutely.
But I want to talk a little bit about, the current issues in China. I mean, right now people talk about supply chain. I mean, you were involved in that. Yes. All the CEOs that you mentor and you're helping, they're involved in this. What is the real situation with, logistics? Is it just because of COVID, or are there other things?
I think all of the above. I think the world is coming into a very uncertain time, and because of COVID, because of the Ukraine, and because of the geopolitics, this partially the US-led correlation, and say how do we rebalance the world after the WTO. I think China benefits so much because we joined WTO. It was a risky move for China.
But it's not just China who benefited. I mean, I was looking at the things. I mean, the rest of the world benefited.
Absolutely.
Africa, South America,
absolutely,
Southeast Asia, even the stands, all the other places. But at the same time, I looked at other graphs.
Yeah.
2/3 of all the profits went to developed countries.
Correct.
So there was general growth.
Yes.
And people say, oh, my job's disappeared. But
exactly.
The job went from $10 an hour in the U.S. to maybe $2 a day in some other country.
Correct.
So there's you can't go back. You can't pay somebody $2 in the U.S. by law back then. Minimum wage.
Yeah.
So what's shaping the world economically? We talk about supply chain.
Yeah.
You talk about certainty.
Yeah.
Because of uncertainty, business guys don't invest.
Absolutely.
Because I can't figure out what's going to happen. Why am I going to put money down, right?
No, nobody's making decision when it cannot presumably see in the future, right? I mean, nobody can see through the future, but at least the future should be on the PowerPoint. That's what I'm saying. At least when you make a presentation, I'm going to build another factory in China, in Vietnam, in Mexico, right? You need to convince the board why do you want to do that. And now, with the COVID experience, with the shipment cost 10 times, and people say, wait a minute, yes, China was competitive, or maybe it still is competitive, but coming back to the risk management, the risk management mentality is in every board. The most important thing for the board is risk management, besides the strategy and the CEO. So when the people look in decision today, they say, wow, yes, China was 10-20% cheaper for every component to make out of that. Yes, that was important before because most of the company make 5-10% of the profit. So every 10%, 20% cheaper on the component will help the bottom line. But suddenly realize, wow, if I cannot get the parts, right? If I cannot get the tires out of China, even I cannot get nuts and bolts from China, and the whole car cannot be sold, and that lasts for 2 or 3 months, that will be too much of a cost for the company. They can bankrupt some company. So what they're going to do, I think most likely today, people will say, let's do regionalize. So we will do, let's see, Asia Pacific as one regional hub, and then we have Europe, probably manufacturing called Eastern Europe, and American will be Mexico, South America, maybe some of the high value added can be done in the US. So the regionalized will be coming from the structure, from strategic today on the board level, that's much easier to be approved. Then just concentrate on one big supplier even you're 10 and 20% cheaper.
Yeah. Tech, definitely. Anything with a higher value, but I'm talking about shoes or clothes or furniture or white goods, highly competitive markets, minuscule margins.
Yeah.
Where does the money come from
Yeah.
to implement this regional policy, or do they simply give up on those markets?
No, I think let me pull back there. I don't think everything will exactly go into that 3 year. I agree. I think it's right now people thinking. But I think if the Ukraine issue is being solved, if the shipment cost is coming down a little bit, people will come back to sense. I think the business people somehow, they look at the long term, but they also look at the short term. So when the money comes down to the calculation, wow, I'm going to set up another factory, that's going to cost so and so much more. Yes, there is a risk of COVID can come back again, but then maybe 10 years down the road. I'm the new CEO, I'm the new CFO. If the world come back to realize that it doesn't make sense to build wars around the world, I think they will slowly coming back to, the essential product, the shoes, clothes. Maybe they will continue to ship out of it as long as they have a second supplier in their country, right? But the majority probably still coming out of the most competitive region or the countries, but they will keep a second supplier nearby for the mask, for example. If another virus come out of it, they will be able to source that right away. At least they have the technology. So I think technology probably will have a bigger impact than the normal product, but right now it's the bad timing. I think people are so scared, so everybody is doing everything to have a second supplier nearby, and they talk a lot about it. People will do it, but whether they will do 100%, I doubt. I think if China continue to work with the rest of the world, continue showing that we are competitive, we will be able to work with everybody else. And the risk becomes smaller. And if we will come out of COVID quickly and find a way that we continue to ship, like Shanghai is now giving this wide list of the company, continue to supply to the rest of the world. And if people are convinced that's the way to do it, the risk becomes smaller than setting up another factory. I think we still have a good chance.